What's going on, guys? This is VinylicPuma, back with another Borderlands 2 video for you guys, and today I wanted to go over some of the new legendaries that got added with the Commander Lilith DLC. Now, you may be surprised to know that there are more than just 3 new legendaries that got added, and for the sake of this video, I'm only including legendaries that have new names, new red text, and seem to be totally new overall, even if they are based on already existing weapons. So something like this Laser Pyrophobia, which is technically a new legendary, is basically not going to be included here because it has the old name and old red text of the original Pyrophobia. So definitely be sure to smash like on this video if you didn't know about the new Pyrophobia, and if you did know about the new Pyrophobia, be sure to smash like on this video. Now, as you may have picked up on at this point, I am going to be going over some items in this video that aren't necessarily meant to drop in-game. These items are normally obtained through save editors, but in my opinion are still cool nonetheless, so I've decided to include them in this video with the hopes that Gearbox or maybe the modding community may look at them at some point and eventually include them in an official or even an unofficial capacity. But enough intro. I hate random construction work, and let's just go ahead here and get into our first entry, and that is the Hectors Paradise. So the Hectors Paradise is usually the first legendary you get while playing through the Commander Lilith DLC, and in order to obtain it, you'll need to complete the Echoes of the Past side quest mission. Now, I'm sure to absolutely no one's surprise, the Hectors Paradise is based off of the Hornet pistol from the vanilla game, and if you're curious, the Hectors Paradise is literally referred to in some of the in-game code as the quote-unquote Hector_Hornet, which should pretty much tell you everything you need to know. Stat-wise, it's virtually identical to the Hornet, provided you can obtain a Hornet with identical parts. The main difference seems to be that the blade accessory and shock element are fixed on the Hectors Paradise, while the Hornet just has a fixed corrosive element. This actually may give the Hornet a bit of an advantage over the Hectors Paradise, and then you can get it to spawn with other accessories like the double accessory, while the Hectors Paradise is stuck with that blade, which you may rarely, if ever, use. Honestly, I'm not super impressed with this one, as it's basically a Hornet with a blade. The shock element is nice, but without the potential for a double accessory to spawn on this gun, the Hectors Paradise is ultimately just underwhelming, and in my opinion, it could really be overlooked in favor of some of the other legendaries that got added with this DLC. Moving on to our next entry, we have the Fire Drill. Now, as you can see, the Fire Drill was originally meant to be one of the new rainbow or effervescent weapons, as it possesses a similar weapon skin to many of those weapons. However, I guess at some point during development, the Fire Drill got scrapped but remained within the game's files as an obtainable, yet unstable new proto-legendary. As you may have picked up on, and in theme with many of the other newly added legendaries with this update, the Fire Drill is based off of the Infinity and retains that weapon's signature infinite ammo properties. Stat-wise, it's about 40 to 50% stronger in terms of base damage. However, what I would say is most unique about the Fire Drill is that it possesses a 100% ignite chance. This pretty much means that as soon as your projectile hits the target, that enemy will be ignited, which is pretty cool in my opinion. The issue with the Fire Drill is that it's not normally obtainable, and right now, it can only be obtained through third-party save editors. Additionally, the Fire Drill is very unstable and ends up glitching out when you load up your character to the point where it basically deletes and you can't even use it anymore. In my experience, it works on the first load up, but after that, you're just gonna have some trouble. In the end though, I actually like this thing quite a bit, and I think if it was tweaked a little bit and it was given a new weapon skin, it could be a great new legendary to have in the overall roster. This brings us to another, as far as I'm aware, currently unobtainable legendary, and that is the M2828 Thumps N. Presumably named after the 1921 Thompson from real life, the M2828 Thumps N from Borderlands 2's Commander Lilith DLC is a legendary that is not normally obtainable within the game by completing quests. Oddly, and in comparison to many other of the secret legendaries from the DLC, the Thumps N actually possesses the greatest potential in my opinion to appear in a more official capacity. This is because unlike some of the other Lilith DLC legendaries which are unstable or massively overpowered, the Thumps N is stable and is better balanced all around. As one might guess, the Thumps N is based off of the Hammer Buster from Vanilla and features similar stats. However, the major difference is that the Thumps N has a little bit better base damage and roughly 4 times the magazine size of the original Hammerbuster. And this 4 times magazine size increase can be especially useful as you won't feel like you're constantly reloading, and you also don't have to worry about needing a flush accessory to properly boost the magazine size to a usable level. In fact, you may find yourself reloading before the weapon's magazine is even spent a lot of the time. Otherwise, the Thumps N is pretty standard, and while you can only obtain it through Gibbed right now, I wouldn't be surprised if the Thumps N ended up being one of the new VIP weapons that will be released via the VIP program for Borderlands 3. If that ends up happening and you're from the future and you can tell us, definitely leave a comment in the comments section below. This brings us to our second place spot, which is going to go to the Compensator. In my experience, the Compensator is usually the last of the legendaries that you acquire playing through this DLC, and is a quest reward for completing the Chief Executive Overlord side quest for Vaughn, which only becomes available after you complete a number of the other side quests for the other NPCs that also appear in this DLC. Aside from color differences, the Compensator is based off of the Pearlescent Butcher and even appears to share that weapon's same ammo regen/ammo return ability as the weapon is fired. It's also worth noting that when it comes to both weapons' stats, you'll see that the Compensator and Butcher are nearly identical provided you have similar parts. The major thing between both weapons, though, is that the Compensator is basically nerfed as it has a fixed accessory, while the Butcher can spawn with any accessory, which gives it a bit of an advantage and makes it a little more desirable provided you're willing to put in the time to farm for a Butcher. Personally, I think this is a fair trade-off if you consider that acquiring an Compensator is virtually guaranteed provided you complete a side quest. So even if the Compensator is weaker than the Butcher, it's still easier to obtain and therefore is still a great gun to get your hands on. In the end, I think you'll find that the Compensator is pretty decent and is worth playing through a bunch of the side quests for. I've ranked it pretty highly among my picks, and while I think you can find other weapons that are better, the Compensator is by no means bad and certainly is worth picking up if you need a decent shotgun to use. And for our final entry that's going to take the gold, we have the Amigo Sincero. Out of all of the newly added legendaries, I think the Amigo Sincero is probably the best. This is mainly because it's based off of the Trespasser, which was already a pretty decent sniper rifle to begin with, that really just needed a few tweaks here and there to become great. Fortunately for us, the developers at Gearbox decided to modify the Trespasser into something that is quite frankly a lot better than it was before. While the Sincero is a little more limited than the Trespasser in that the bladed accessory is fixed, the Sincero does have the advantage of possessing roughly 3 times the base damage, noticeably higher fire rate, and even slightly better accuracy when compared to a Trespasser with similar parts. The best change, though, is probably the removal of the Trespasser's bolt action status, which really ends up upping the fire rate and making the Amigo Sincero a lot more comfortable and overall more practical to use. So if you're playing Sniper Maya or Sniper Zero, getting your hands on this gun would certainly be of great benefit. Ultimately, the Amigo Sincero is pretty solid if you ask me, and if you want it, you can get one by completing the BFFF side quest for Brick. This usually becomes available after completing some of the other side quest missions in the DLC, so if you want to get your hands on this, you may have to complete some other side quests first. Alright guys, I think that's going to wrap up this particular video. If you enjoyed and or learned something from this video, definitely be sure to hit that like button as it really helps out the channel. And also be sure to click the bell if you'd like to be notified when I upload my very next video. Also, what do you guys think of this new DLC? Personally, I'm kind of amazed that this DLC is free because it feels a lot like a lot of the campaign DLCs of old. So, it's pretty cool that Gearbox decided to do this just before Borderlands 3 comes out in like 3 months or so. But as always guys, thank you all so much for supporting this channel. Take care and feel free to stick around until we hit that 10-minute mark.